Hey, Teach Jim here. I teach and I learn, and I'm grateful today to be with Ross Jardine. He's sitting here next to me, actually. Normally these shows are done live on the phone, but today we're actually sitting in Ross's office, and it's so great to have him here. So, Ross, welcome aboard.
Well, thanks. Great to be here, Jim.
And some of you might not know Ross yet, so let me just do a quick introduction, which is a little awkward with him sitting here next to me, but I'll go ahead and do that anyway. Ross is an exceptional person. He's an author. He's also known as America's Money Mentor, which is a great place to be. He actually has a company that's done money training over the years. It was bought out by Ameritrade, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
And so he's got that. He's got, I think, 4 multi-million-dollar companies that you've run over the recent past. And then you've got some interesting things that have happened more recently. So author, speaker, mentor, expert. He's put together some software tools. And Ross, great to have you on the show today.
Well, I appreciate it. It's fun to be here.
You've got so many rich pieces of your background, and rich, by the way, is not meant to be a pun, but kind of played in that way. Why don't you guys kind of share with us the backstory and fill in those gaps I didn't do in the introduction in terms of what your accomplishments have been and how you've gotten here?
Well, like a lot of things, you kind of fall into certain things, but I think, like I say, a lot of luck has to do with preparation and opportunity coming together. And for me, it was, my first exposure to business was during a challenging period of time in my life, and saw an opportunity, took a risk, and it was when I first saw the internet, and it gave me a chance to be on the front edge of something, and started a business teaching people about how to do business online. I was able to do the very first site for the Super Bowl. I was actually a guy that registered the name SuperBowl.com, if you can believe that.
Oh my.
Beat the NFL to their own domain name. But so I had some great experience with that early on, and eventually found myself traveling the country, teaching people about something that I understood quite well and helping them with their own individual challenges. Mm-hmm. After selling that business, I was in a position where I could kind of choose where I wanted to go, and for me, that was personal finance. I have a great passion for investing and money and business, and so I took what I'd learned in the seminar business, applied it to that, and built the largest investor education company in the world.
The largest investor education company?
We had over 1 million students. Went through those courses where we taught them about basic investing principles to as advanced as option strategies and commodities and things like that. But a great experience. I got a chance to meet a lot of people, and so this phase of my life is kind of the next phase. I was focused on those as businesses, but now I've just taken on a passion. I used to joke that we sold expensive products to rich people, Jim.
Okay.
And now I've really dedicated the rest of my life to everybody else, and I believe that society does a pretty poor job of preparing most of us to deal with even simple money challenges.
Right.
Things we face every day. Mm-hmm. And, how to balance a checkbook or understands the perils of high-interest credit cards and those things. Unfortunately, most of us learn those lessons through the School of Hard Knocks. And it's pretty expensive when it comes to money to learn lessons in that form. So I've kind of dedicated my life to helping people learn some of those secrets I call them secrets. They're not really
the cute little secrets, yeah.
But they're things that they haven't been exposed to except through the mistakes they've made. And the goal being, let's see if we can help a few people avoid those mistakes that I'm sure you and I know me, we've been through. And if we can do that, I'll feel a great accomplishment.
Well, you've mentioned some mistakes. At the same time, in the list of accomplishments, I don't see those mistakes coming out. So I hate to do it. But I'm going to ask you, can you dig a little bit into that?
Just like anybody. Nobody wants to talk about those things.
Okay, I didn't say sorry, but
I can promise you I've made them, Jim.
Okay.
And like I say to people, I've made those mistakes, but I paid attention, I learned the lessons, and now I hope to share with people what I learned so that they don't have to go through the same thing.
And you've put together some tools to help with that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You had the training seminars, but now you've actually put together a package of tools to help the everyday person, right?
The delivery mechanism of the information's changed, and technology has helped that.
Right.
When we used to go put on seminars, it's very expensive. It was expensive to attract the people to them. It was expensive to fly a whole team of people out and rent a hotel room. And so that was why those things were expensive. But now we've got delivery mechanisms to get this information out in very inexpensive ways, in fact, predominantly free. It all starts when I sold my last business. I sat down, and it really took me about 7 days, and I wrote a book, and it was called 60-Day Money Miracle. And what it did was just encapsulate the lessons I've learned about money in terms of personal finance and how we manage our financial lives to, let's face it, some of the biggest challenges people face, and this is just from my experience of meeting all these people over the years in the seminars, is the biggest challenges they'll deal with in their life, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, have at their very core a mistake that they made with money. We're talking about serious problems, things like divorce and business failures, failed relationships, even to the far end of the spectrum, addictions and suicides. Often we're driven to those things because of the stress we feel because we don't have enough money. And people don't know how to deal with that. I feel like if we can focus on some of those money challenges, maybe we can eliminate some of the stress people feel. And if we can do that, I think they'll have a little more fulfilling life, a little more happiness. I call it the debt-free, wealthy life. And, when you get to that point, it's where money's not a worry. And I'm not saying you're going to be so rich you live the lifestyle of your dreams. But for most people, it's having enough money to meet our basic needs. And maybe a little extra to splurge and have some fun with things we enjoy once in a while. So I wrote the book in 7 days, and it was just it was a passionate thing. I kind of just felt, frankly, like one of those things where you kind of get in the zone. It was late nights, and I just kept going because it was coming out. And I'm very proud of that, and to get that information out, to encapsulate all the lessons I've learned about money that I think can help folks, I put the book in a format that everybody can get for free. And for the rest of my life, I'll be giving that away for free just to introduce people to, those lessons I think that will help them avoid some of the biggest mistakes that virtually all of us make with money. So if it's okay, just tell them they can go to rossjardine.com. It's free. If they've got an email address, you can get it in just a few seconds. And learn that system. I believe I like to think of it as a simple, proven system to help them eliminate their debt and take control of their money and hopefully eliminate some of that money stress that most of us feel.
So the money stress and getting it relieved is really the passion you're about now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's some other parts of life that as you've gone along have been challenges for you. And some people say, well, goodness, you could do that and write the book in 7 days because, well, you were in a situation where you could. Well, some of us can take a 7-day vacation and write the book if we wanted to go down that route or share our experiences and then package that up in a way that's meaningful for others. And we do some of that for services for others. So a fun place to be in that whole, another arena we could talk to. So the passion is what drove the book getting done. But the other side of the coin is you have some experiences that over the years you've seen some pain in others.
Yeah.
And there's a core deepness to you that I sense that is the passion that drives it. Can you dig to us just a little bit about that mindset where you kind of fell there?
A couple things, Jim. And I think you're absolutely right. And I don't think there's too many people probably listening to the show that don't know somebody near to them that experienced one of those life challenges that I mentioned earlier. A divorce or a business failure, losing a job, losing a house, getting behind, destroying their credit. All these things are things that are so common today. And they see the damage, either in their own lives or usually someone very near to them. And it's not a pretty thing. And so for me, I witnessed that many times, close to me as well. And so I felt like if I can help a few of those people avoid those challenges, then, I can say maybe I accomplished a little bit in life. But for me personally, everybody's has a challenge. And in fact, I would say that if they're listening to your show, it's because they're looking for answers to maybe some of the challenges they're dealing with in their life. And for me personally, it's that I can't hear. And, I've spoken about this, but the listeners probably don't know, but I'm completely deaf. And it wasn't, a lifelong thing. It was in my mid-30s, early 30s, I had a very sudden dramatic hearing loss. And over the years, it progressively got worse. I wore hearing aids for 18 years and finally reached a point where I couldn't hear at all, even with the hearing aids, or couldn't hear enough to function.
Sure.
Simple things like talk on a phone or watch television or have a conversation with your spouse or children. For me, that I experienced a miracle. In my case, it was a medical miracle. And 2 years ago, I received by surgery a cochlear implant, a bionic ear, if you will. And it's miraculously restored my hearing, or otherwise I couldn't have even agreed to do this interview today. And that's part of the reason you were so gracious to come and do this in person. to help me with that personal challenge. And I don't say that to make people feel sorry for me.
No, but the reality that you're a normal, everyday person that has challenges in your life, I think is so important for all of us.
I'm the last guy that you need to feel sorry for. I'm one of the few. I get to live the lifestyle of my dreams, but for me, that was a challenge, and I just want people to know. A lot of people give up hope, and I believe that if they get my book and they follow those simple principles, nothing's hard. It's not really hard, but if they'll follow that simple process, in 60 days they can change their life and experience in their own small way that miracle.
Right.
For me, it was a medical miracle to restore my hearing and give me a chance to do some of the things I've always enjoyed. But for them, to eliminate that money stress, like I say, my promise is give me 60 days, I can change your life forever. And that's really what I'm all about, and I believe that very strongly.
And that comes through in everything we've talked about with you today. You've given us a little bit of the background of your personal story a little bit there, but you also have shared this deepness of this conviction to help this cause, which you feel is just a core piece of everybody's life. Yeah,
it is. People want to demonize money. I look at money as it's a tool. A good analogy is I had a business partner early in my career, and one of his neighbors was a professional golfer, someone who made millions of dollars playing golf. On a neighborhood golf outing, he didn't have any golf clubs, and so his neighbor gave him a set of golf clubs, a set of golf clubs that he had used to win thousands and thousands of dollars as a professional golfer. Well, you would think that with tools that were capable of making someone, thousands of dollars, millions of dollars on the golf course, that it would help my partner become a great golfer. But the reality was he went out and couldn't break 100. So to me, what it shows is, tools alone are not enough.
Right.
To learn the skills and master the skills to use those tools effectively is really the difference. When it comes right down to it, the biggest successes I've enjoyed in my life, business and other places, it came down to three things. And I think those three things, if you can get them, you improve dramatically your likelihood for success in any endeavor. And that is a proven system, a simple, repeatable process that you can follow step by step. Most of us are good at following instructions. We just don't know where to start.
Right.
So a simple, repeatable process is where it all begins. And then you need powerful tools, something that helps us automate the process, because most of us are lazy by nature. So we miss little things. And by creating a simple routine that incorporates those important principles over and over again, we're more likely to keep at it and to see the success of completing that process.
Right.
And then the final thing we need is someone that can help us kind of shorten the learning curve, a mentor, an advisor, a coach, someone that that's been there, that's done that can help us see the simplest mistakes that otherwise we might fall prey to, avoid those things so that we can get the benefit of that simple, repeatable process and powerful tools all that much faster. And that's kind of the whole thing. My book is the system. I give it away for free. You get the system for free. They can do everything in that system on their own, or there's some powerful tools for a very small cost that they can utilize to automate a great deal of the process. It's almost like having, the best analogy, most of us have GPS in our cars now, and imagine if you could just take in your financial life, like you do when you're driving from one destination to another, and just stick a pin in the map to where you are today, stick another pin to where you'd like to be, and then have a step-by-step driving instructions created for you financially that you could follow. Most of it is say, if it was that easy, Russ, I could do it.
But you got a software tool that does that.
It is that easy, Jim. That's the beauty of it. It is that easy. And so I want to, I introduce people to the process. I introduce them to these powerful tools that now exist to help them literally automate their entire financial life so that they know step by step. They can see every aspect of their financial life on a single screen on their computer that's updated in real time and allows them to kind of see, if I make this certain decision with my money, how does it impact everything else? Because most of us just focus on that decision and we're oblivious to the impact. It's like a piece of computer code. You introduce something new and it may screw up everything else in the program. Money's the same way. And so helping people go through that process of making wise money decisions collectively over their life will improve in exponential ways, very magical ways. That's why I call it a miracle.
Miracle. And some people are like, well, I guess that's a miracle that I can't do it. But It's the fact that it's so practical,
Yeah.
and the answer you get out of it is really that eye-opening piece, and it gives you a different perspective.
Right.
Huge, huge.
The beauty of this too is that it's simple math. It's not complicated, but most of us aren't going to take the time to do it on our own. So having a tool that does it for us makes it that much more likely that we'll get that benefit.
You, in every person's story that I interview on the show here, there's always this other side to the story, and you've shared so much of the little pieces that are there. I think we can kind of assemble those. But a question I love to ask, and I love to kind of get the reaction, in today's world we live in a place kind of cross between a formal education. I know you were educated at BYU, if I remember correctly. And then you have the informal education.
Yeah.
And those two kind of come together, usually across a person's career.
Yeah.
Their profession is this evolution of both. So I like to ask the question, how did you learn what you know?
Well, I agree with you 100%. I had a wise mentor back when I was a young boy in high school. It was actually a father of one of my friends, and I can remember one day just sitting in the hot tub and with my buddies, and his dad comes and sits there and dispenses some wisdom to us young boys there. And we were talking about college and education and the value of that. And he made a statement that I'll never forget. It's been 25, 30 years now. And he said, when you leave school, you actually have two career options. He says it's the one you learn, but also the one you earn. Because we were in a position where we had to do something to get ourselves through school. I wasn't in a position where my parents could just write a check and send me off to school. So to get that education, I had to work. Well, the work and things that I did taught me about another aspect of life. Well, interestingly enough, my background, my education was in public relations. I've never worked a day in that.
Interesting.
But the experience prepared me very well. I was told people I got a great education because I learned how to communicate and I learned how to solve problems.
Right.
And with those two skills, you can be successful in almost any career endeavor. But my passion was for personal finance, money, investing. I worked for years in the financial services industry. I got exposed to that business. I liked it better on the opposite side of the funnel. And then I went out and I made some mistakes. And again, it was that refiner's fire of going through life's experiences that each of us go through that taught me that, again, that society's a poor teacher when it comes to money. And if I can help people, they need it. Virtually everybody I know has debt, some more than they can afford to pay. And if we can help relieve some of that pressure, they have a better chance of enjoying a greater life. And the beauty is most people, there's enough money passing through their hands to live a comfortable life if they just became better at managing it. Right. That's what the process I teach, the 60-Day Money Miracle, what they'll learn in my book, that's what it's all about. Most of them can get in a better place with just the money passing through their hands right now. We'd like to show them how to get a little more too, but that a better life awaits them if they can just make a few changes, and we'll help them do that.
So it's crazy to me that you started off on one path, and why PR, well, that's another discussion, but came out in PR with, like you said, communication and problem solving, those essential skills for life.
Yes.
And then as you went through life facing whatever things hit you, coming back to those core skills and implementing those into the situations you face. Yeah. But the other part of that conversation, if you will, grows into the whole idea that learning as you go, learning through the experiences that are facing you. Now, you're a business owner, and I've talked to many people trying to start a business and get it rolling.
Right.
You've had multiple multi-million-dollar businesses.
Right.
Any words for those that want to kind of go down that route and lessons learned?
They got to be, to me, the biggest thing is you got to be committed. And I look at the business as I started, and I can honestly tell you that if I didn't get paid, there were things I would still do. And I think that's a condition. I look at people that are starting businesses and their conviction, they're kind of half in and half out because they don't know if it'll work. And if you don't have the conviction and the commitment to a business, especially if you're the one, the responsible for coming up with the idea and pushing the ball over the goal line, it's going to fail. And so you can't be half-hearted. I think about the very first business I started, to give you an example of the level of commitment. I just say, everybody's had a chance to everybody knows what it means to be in the right place at the right time. I'm convinced everybody gets a chance to do that. And my businesses I would use as examples of that. Okay. But just being in the right place at the right time didn't assure that those businesses would come out as multi-million-dollar companies in many cases. It took two very important things, and I think this is the key. First of all, a lot of people are in the right place at the right time, and they don't even know it. They're oblivious to what's going on and this opportunity that's literally right in front of their face. And even some who see it don't take that decisive action, which is step number 2, in order to realize the benefit of those things. For me, I got introduced to the internet. I saw it as a vehicle that would change business forever, whether or not I got involved.
Sure.
So I chose to make a commitment to get involved, to learn about it. Now, for me, to turn it into a business, the risk part of it, the remove all obstacles and make a commitment, came when my business partner told me that we needed to buy a computer. And he said, I thought, well, let's go down to CompUSA and buy one.
Sure.
And he said, well, Ross, I don't think you understand. It's not that kind of computer.
Right.
I need a Unix workstation, and it's sold by, Hewlett Packard or Sun Microsystems and costs $20,000. At that stage in my life, $20,000, it might have well been $1 million because I didn't have it. And I thought I just completed a deal, and interestingly enough, the profit from that deal for my whole business was about $20,000.
Oh my!
So
you
think about
the decision point then at that point. Yeah.
I knew there was an opportunity here, and I literally risked every penny I have to buy a computer that I couldn't even run. But yet that computer and the smart guy I had as a partner that didn't know how to run it was what gave birth to a business that ultimately became a multi-million-dollar success. So again, those 2 things. Everybody's going to get a chance to be in the right place at the right time. And if you don't believe me, just open your eyes. See the opportunity, and then when you do, take decisive action. And that gives you the best chance. Still no guarantee, but gives you the best chance of having success from what you experienced.
Amazing. So it's that the combination of risk as well as kind of pulling things together.
Yeah.
In these life experiences you're talking about, there's some key lessons that you come up to. And as you get to those key points and those key lessons, sometimes they're in the moment and you can kind of identify them. Other times it's retrospective. You've brought out several today. Kind of as we run toward the end of the show here, I'd love to ask the question, from all you've learned, are there some key pieces of information and advice that you can give to people?
Yeah, don't procrastinate. I would say that's the biggest one. People know that they're feeling pain right now. People who are listening to this program are feeling pain. Their finances may be a mess. They may be have terrible credit. Whatever it is, my challenge to you today is don't put it off another day. The best thing you can do, it won't cost you anything, but it's up to you to take that very first step. And it's go to rossjardine.com, get the book. The system's free. There's nothing that's going to scare you away. It's simple process. And you can do it. I believe that each of the people listening to the program, if they'll take that first step, they'll see that the miracle can happen to them. I want them to be my next success story.
Right.
Have a money miracle, a 60-day money miracle, and that's what it's all about. But it all starts with that very first step. Don't procrastinate another day.
So don't procrastinate another day. Key. Then the other side of the coin that you've already been through is that when the challenges do come, and they will,
absolutely.
I mean, I've got a story that the walls are there not as barriers, but to show how much we want to get through them.
Right.
And so, for the people facing an actual challenge, what advice do you have for them at this moment?
Well, like I say, the biggest thing most of us get in trouble with when it comes to money is spending money we don't have. And so, a simple lesson is to live within our means. I think it's simple words, but it's a powerful principle. Many people listening to the program that are feeling that money stress and pain, they can't afford the lifestyle that they're currently living. And it's going to require some places to cut back. Now, I'll give you some simple things that you can do that can increase the cash flow in your life immediately by making some changes in the way you manage your money and your affairs. That's where it starts. Once we get your budget and get your cash flow in a manageable thing, get your lifestyle right-sized, I like to call it, then we can focus on how to enhance it from there by increasing your income, looking for ways to find a few extra dollars. I give you some great suggestions of how to do that, some simple ways to do that. And then, honestly, it really comes down to discipline. Are you disciplined enough to stay the course? Because sometimes the reward's a little bit distant in the future, and we get discouraged because we don't see it right away. But I would say stay the course. The math will work for you. The principles are timeless, and you can have a better life. The stress can go away. It really, really can. I've seen it.
Powerful. Thank you. RossJardine.com. How do you spell it?
RossJardine. Book's free. I hope they all get it, and that they're the next success story, and that they share that success with me. part of the reward I get for sharing that information.
So powerful. Thank you so much for you coming on the show today. It's been great to have you along the lines here. Just as we close out, I always love to invite people to continue to teach, to learn, and to grow in their own lives. And as they make that progress, they can do that. So thank you so much. Great to have you on the show. And again, rossjardine.com is the place to go to pick up the book and make those next steps for yourself.
Thanks, Jim.